I've been arrested, but I would go in front of the judge, and that's when they would bond me out. So I've never actually been to jail or to prison before. So when I got there, I was terrified and horrified. I've seen movies, and I knew what I was facing and the situation that I was in, and I felt like it was never going to end. I felt like I was going to die in there. The place I went to, I remember I went to a county jail, and there was like 700 inmates there, and I would say about 400 of them, maybe a little more, was males, and they had like 30 some guys on each dorm, maybe 40 guys on each dorm, and these dorms were like no bigger than a small house, and we all shared a room. Well, they'd have like 2 3 guys in one cell, and the cell is like 6 feet long by like 4 feet wide, and sometimes 4 guys in one room, and you'd have a bunk bed, and someone would be on the floor. Sometimes 2 guys on the floor, and then you guys share a bunk bed. And I mean, there was little petty arguments every day. It kind of reminded me of like junior high, but like with a bunch of grown men who are, frantic and anxiety through the roof and are stressed out and are worried, and everyone is horrified. So it's very dangerous. I've seen things in there that are mind blowing. I remember seeing arguments and stuff over the pettiest things, like such as like changing the TV channel. I mean, someone want to watch the news while someone else wants to watch a different news channel, or just petty things. Someone staying on the phone for too long, or someone calling their family back, like say call like back to back. And I've seen arguments break out with 5 6 10 different guys at a time over this, or someone not wanting to live with somebody else. So a fight breaks out, or I've seen people. I mean, it gets worse and worse. There was situations where when I got to prison, I left the county jail. The county jail wasn't too bad, and then I left there and I went to prison. And the first place I went to was a receiving place where they like go through your like the mental evaluation, and they try to like assess you and assign you to different programs and stuff. This was probably the most like staff wise, this was the most secure facility in our state, and it was bad. The staff members, they were like, they made you, when you walked in a hallway, you couldn't look at nobody else. You had to like look at the wall or look down. When you stopped at the end of the hallway, you had to put your face on the wall and spread your arms out and spread your legs, and you couldn't look at the officer. Like it was very serious, very strict, and they didn't play no games there. I mean, in no institution did they play games, but like this was the most serious. At all times were they yelling. They didn't talk at a normal level. They screamed at you at all times and yelled at you, and they humiliated you. They gave you like 30 seconds. They would click a door, and you had 30 seconds to get out of your cell to go get your food. And if you didn't open your door in 30 seconds, then you didn't get to eat that meal. You got 3 meals a day, and usually it was just like one serving of something small and something on the side. Like sometimes you get like a sandwich and maybe like a cup of juice and maybe a cookie or two, and it was barely enough to make you survive. I remember when I got there, I had been in the county jail for a while, and I was healthy by then because I went in and I was like 120 pounds maybe, and by the time I got to this receiving facility, I was like up to like 180, 200, and I ended up losing like 25 pounds in 50 days because they were feeding us bare minimum, and you couldn't order food really when you're there. I think you got like a $5 a week spending limit, so you couldn't really buy anything with that. So I ended up losing a lot of weight, and then finally I got out of this place, and that place was awesome. Let me remind you, you stayed in your cell all day long. You got out of your cell for maybe an hour, so when you did get out, you were frantic to take a shower, and sometimes they would cut you short. It was just humiliating, to say the least, in that facility. And then I got moved from there, and I went to a prison excuse me, this is when I was in West Virginia too. I went to a prison in Elkins. It's one of the most like one of the most fierce prisons in the state of West Virginia. There's a lot of gangs there, a lot of rivalries, a lot of cliques, religions there that don't see themselves as religion. They see themselves as gangs and affiliations and stuff like that. And I've seen a lot of arguments there. I've seen a lot of fights. I mean, the dorm, they put me on a gang dorm. And like I said, granted, I've never been incarcerated. I'm not a gang member. I'm a Christian, and I tried my best to stay out of trouble while incarcerated, but it was hard to do. Like I got in situations where I had to like defend myself. I almost got jumped a couple of times, and I had to defend myself. but they put me on a gang dorm where everyone there is affiliated or some kind of like relation to a gang. And every day it was like I would see fights. And luckily for me, like I said, I didn't click up with anybody, and I stayed to myself. And because of that, a lot of people like they respected me and they appreciated that. They're like, oh, he's going to try to stand on his own, leave him alone, blah blah blah. But like every day, I would see fights break out between these different gangs over nothing, over a card game or over someone using someone else's phone, or someone cut somebody in the juice line, or just petty things. Someone got in someone else's shower. Like they try to make it like a black and white thing. Oh, that's the white's phones. Oh, that's the black's phones. That's the black shower. Like just little things like that. I've seen. This is like the middle of summertime, and our dorms are hot. They have one fan, and it's like 89 degrees. Well, everyone's wearing jackets. I'm like, why does everyone want to wear a jacket? And I asked my buddy that. I'm like, buddy, why's everyone got their jackets on? It's hot as heck. I'm wearing like a t-shirt and shorts. He's like, oh man, something's gonna break out. Let's go to our room. I'm like, no, like what's going on? He's like, something's going to happen. Someone's going to get stabbed. That's why they're all wearing jackets. I'm like, are you serious? He's like, yeah. We need to get out of here. So we ended up going to our room and stuff, and hanging out and listening to music. But luckily, no one had gotten stabbed that day. But it did happen while I was there, and a lot of gang fights broke out. Luckily for me, though, I stayed out of trouble, and I got in like educational programs, and I signed up for. This is while I was still in my addiction, but I signed up for a program. It was a dog program where you train dogs for handicapped people with disabilities, PTSD, like police officers, firefighters, paramedics, or like young children who have like different problems, maybe like I don't know, maybe MS, like muscle issues, or like so they have Down syndrome or schizophrenia, just anything. We trained handicap assistance dogs, and we trained emotional support dogs. Say like someone had like a traumatic event happen in their life, and like maybe they were like molested or anything like that. We trained dogs to help them with these issues, to get past barriers they had in their lives, either to keep like a veteran calm in a risky situation, or for a little kid who had maybe, like I said, Down syndrome or something, so they always had like a companion. And so I got moved out of that facility by the grace of God to a lower minimum security facility. And this is where, I started meeting actually good guys, and they had a strong church-based program that was going on there, which was amazing. In this program, while I was training these dogs, it taught me a lot about myself, and it was very humbling to see the problems these children had. And I was given the opportunity to stand up and talk in a couple of these programs where I could stand up in front of people and explain my story and stuff in a nutshell. I kept things to a bare minimum. I just explained like how I grew up and why I enjoyed, training these dogs, and how I felt like I was able to give back. So I was training these dogs for these children and stuff, and to see like the smile they would have, when the dog that I had been training for 3, 4, 6, 7 months, depending on the dog and what I was training them for, was able to put a smile on the kid's face, and I knew that dog was going to protect that child or that veteran, and it was going to make them feel loved and cared for. And that was a very humbling experience, and made me feel grateful for the things that I had been doing.